Ian Garry is back in the media. And guys, I'm afraid that he has fumbled his big opportunity, ultimately capitalizing on what could have been the biggest leap in stardom we've ever seen since maybe Conor McGregor, maybe Khabib when he beat Conor. What I'm getting at right now is that Ian Garry's social media numbers are just sad in comparison to what I think they could have been like if he had only showed up to the UFC 296 fight week when there was a ton of drama surrounding his name. And I don't think that this is a case that's just not reconcilable. Like, I think that Ian Garry, for example, could win this weekend and knock out Jeff Neal and blow things up back again and get on the mic and have a wicked speech. He could definitely bring things back up, but man, did he have that opportunity on a silver platter, and all he needed to do was just manage his stress a little bit better and show up. Because I'm looking at these numbers. Look at this on screen. 24,000 views on his Mac Life interview, right? Look at Volkanovski's 77K, Paulo Costa 23K, 1,000 less than Ian Garry. I'm not saying Costa is not a big deal, but hey, compared to what Ian Garry was looking like in the build-up to that UFC 296 fight week, not even close. We also got Ilia Topuria, 22K. Henry Cejudo, 32K, explaining his situation with his coach. I think that if Ian Garry were to have shown up on UFC 296's fight week last December, this interview that we see from 4 hours ago at 24,000, it would have been well over 100K, probably even 200K. You know what? That interview would have hit over 1 million. And I'm looking at the embedded episode, the first one that the UFC came out with. What are we looking at for Ian Garry? What are the numbers? 548K with him on the cover? Dude, imagine if this guy showed up at UFC 296. An embedded episode from 2 days prior with Ian Garry's face on it would have had over 1 milli. And now we got to look at his Instagram. This is the saddest part. And we are going to get into some of the things that Ian Garry talked about at his press conference, but I'm going to look at his Instagram, and we know that this guy has turned off his comments. He's disabled them. 5,000 likes on this one. We're looking at 1,500. There's him. Oh, he's running into Jeff Neal. I haven't even watched that yet. That is pretty cool. No one can fuck with you if you got a kid in your hand. Ian Garry is being very smart this week, making sure to have his kid with him so he can do damage control, knowing Jeff Neal's not going to even try to go at him a little bit. Jeff Neal's also a great guy. But anyway, back to my point. I remember I was scrolling on Instagram the other day, and I'm just liking pictures and interacting with things, MMA posts for the most part. And I see an Ian Garry post, and I think it was probably something that had like 3,000 likes. And it looked very strange compared to all the other ones. It almost looked like I was seeing some advertisement. You know when you're on Instagram and you see some sponsored post, some company paid the algorithm to put them out there? You could just tell it's different and you scroll right past it and you don't even want to even look at it or engage with it at all. That's what every single Ian Garry post looks like on social media, and it is absolutely destroying his chances of becoming a big star. And it's a problem because he's just kind of not nearly as big as he should have been. You know, he was talking about Sean Strickland in this media day. And I'll play you some of the clips. But he was saying that, you know, Strickland doesn't have the belt anymore and no longer is relevant. And of course, if you're looking at Sean Strickland's social media and all the viral moments he's having, running into big Donald Trump, running into Sneeko, recapping his adventures in Vegas, running into both of those guys, he's got like over 500,000 views. He's getting hundreds of thousands of likes on Instagram. People are commenting on it. They're not looking at a Sean Strickland post and scrolling right past it because it looks like some advertisement. Because, again, if you don't see the little comment bubble to click on, it makes every Instagram post look like some spam. Sean Strickland is 10 times more relevant than Ian Garry right now. And I'm not saying that Garry won't get some pop at tomorrow's press conference. He probably will. But it's just not going to be nearly what it could have been. This guy could have taken over the game. And it just kind of pisses me off that he didn't show up, because I understand just how big of a moment he could have had. And then we also have to understand that, yes, he is going to get some pop when he walks out, because I'm sure the fans in Anaheim are going to be cheering for Jeff Neal. Not only is he American, but they're not going to like Ian Garry. On the night of the fights, Ian Garry will be relevant. He does still have the level of charisma and relevance needed, and the amount of dislike from the fans to create a perfect storm to where there's going to be a whole lot of energy in the building and you're going to be glued to your TV. It's going to feel like a big fight, a massive fight. People are going to be holding their breaths. That is going to happen, but it's not going to compare to what it could have been, okay? So it's just kind of unfortunate that this is the case, but the other thing that I want to talk about, guys, and he could rejuvenate all of this with a knockout over Jeff Neal. If he gets KO'd, then I guess it's all kind of falling apart. But Ian Garry, little piece of advice, allow people to engage in your social media. People don't like everything that I have to say, and it's all good. It's all good. You got to allow people to critique you, especially if you want to be a big star, because you are nowhere near the level of Sean Strickland right now. The other thing that I want to discuss is Ian Garry calling out Sean Strickland and the fans' response to this.
We can shoot shots at each other all day long, me and another bloke, but the minute he mentions... Here's the thing. Here's the two things that I'll point out to you, right? My wife was called by Sean Strickland. No woman ever deserves to be called that, right? That's the truth. My son, the people that follow Sean Strickland, commented on a couple of my photos at the very start of all this hate saying, is the kid even his? I should never have to hear that. Now, those two things, they emotionally get me. And I'll get mine back. I'll thump the fucking mouth off Sean Strickland one day, and there'll be nothing he can do about it. And I'll talk to him, I'll dance in his face, I'll do whatever I want, because the truth is, when we get locked into that cage one day, he's never going to be able to deal with me. But the truth is, I have a target on my back. I have the ability to stand here and shoot shots at anyone I want, because this is my job, and they have the opportunity in return. So for me, when you attack people in my circle when they don't deserve it, that's out of line. And look, Sean Strickland is not the fucking voice we should all be listening to. Do you know what I mean? He's deeply, deeply indebted with trauma, and he should just be silent and try to deal with his own personal issues himself. And that's mainly where it all came from.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to start from the last thing he said. So the last thing he says is obviously, to me, just apparent. Sean Strickland has a lot of redeeming qualities, and I'm a big Sean Strickland fan. I absolutely love how he's able to just say whatever comes to mind. And the fact that a guy like that, who has his beliefs, which I think are important today, because a lot of what he says is just common sense and it's just truthful, but for whatever reason, people can't just say it these days without getting punished, which fucking sucks. And so the Sean Strickland having a platform and being able to say all of these things because the UFC allows him to say that shit, and also because he doesn't give a fuck what's going to happen, that's great. I respect that. Sean Strickland is a man that has conviction, and I freaking respect that. I really do. And he's also entertaining, and he's funny, and he's fun to watch fight, and he's a good shit talker, and he sells his fights. There's a lot of things that I like about Sean Strickland. He's got charisma. There's a lot of things. But it's also the case, and it's funny because Strickland fans, there are some that glaze this man like there's no tomorrow. People glaze him a lot these days. Like, they treat him like he can do no wrong. And this is a guy that will tell you himself that he has a lot of serious issues. That's not to say that, oh, because Sean Strickland is unstable in ways, he has nothing to offer, he has nothing worth saying. So I disagree when Ian Garry says that Sean Strickland should be completely silent. But like, a big part of Ian Garry's media day, or at least the stuff that's going viral online right now, is him being upset at people going at his family. Now, of course, for Sean Strickland, or when we're talking about Sean Strickland, what he did is he made a video a while back giving Ian Garry some advice. Bro to bro code advice. And I think that was totally warranted. But Sean Strickland also says some things that may not be totally necessary to get the message out there, but that's also just him and it's funny, and that may have been taking a little bit of a dig at Ian Garry's wife. Now, is Ian Garry and his relationship set up in a good way? Probably not. Like, I'm sure it's incredibly flawed, and I wouldn't want to be a part of a relationship like that. Absolutely not. Okay? And a lot of the stuff that's said about Ian Garry is funny, all right? But at the same time, I don't think that this guy should get flamed for saying that he gets pissed off when people talk about his family. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that this guy put his family on the forefront and blasted stuff on social media, and it was his wife's idea, and she's not totally innocent because she's running his social media, and they were calling out the MMA guru. And, she had him put a mugshot on a shirt, and she was whispering in his ear to attack Khamzat Chimaev. Like, I understand that there is stuff going on there that's not innocent. I totally get that. And, of course, people are going to say, you have no right to complain about people going at your family if you bring up Neil Magny, for example. Because Ian Garry took Neil Magny's words out of context when he went to a press conference and tried to blow them out of proportion to make Magny look like some terrible abuser, right? Which was just not right. And I think that, honestly, if this guy wants to redeem himself a little bit, again, he'll never be a fan favorite. That's just never going to happen. Then he should publicly address the Magny situation and apologize. Like, even if he honestly isn't capable of coming to the conclusion that he was wrong where he actually was wrong, then at least, dude, take like a photo with Magny, fucking shake his hand, tell him to his face, I'm sorry that I did that, post it on social media, and the fans are going to be a lot more tolerant of whatever you have to say. It's like no matter what Ian Garry says, because he went at Magny, he'll never, ever get a second chance, right? And I just think that, listen, it's only human to get upset when people are attacking your family. Anthony Smith, where you at? All right? Unless you're Anthony Smith, and everyone's attacking your family. But listen, Ian Garry getting upset for people talking about his family is something that's similar to if you have some kind of toxic situation in your family, or you're constantly fighting with your brother or whatever, that's normal and okay in a way. But if someone went at your brother, if someone goes at your family, even if you and your family are always fighting, that's off limits. All right? Only we can fuck with each other, not you. That's kind of what I'm seeing. And that's very normal. Like, that's how a lot of people are. And I just think that people are acting like Ian Garry should have this robotic reaction to when Sean Strickland calls out his wife. And it's still his wife. Is that a toxic relationship that you would want to get yourself involved in? Is it set up in a way that's just maybe going to fail? Yeah, it might be. Like, there's something suspicious there. All right? But at the same time, it's still his wife. They have a kid together. Yeah, he has every right to get upset at that. All right? And let's not pretend like it's all warranted stuff. They're not going at the kid. But, like, people are memeing about the kid. And he's bringing the kid everywhere, okay? Which, as I said, may be a good move, but it's also giving people that ammunition. And it's cheap ammunition because I constantly see people saying, that's not his kid, that's not his kid, that's not his kid. And whether that's funny or not, it would still be a reason for the guy to be pissed off, right? But he's saying things like, oh, it's the Sean Strickland fans that are doing that. Well, first of all, you can't blame that on Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's not doing that. He's not talking about your kid. His fans are. So don't try to spin it as if that's Strickland's fault necessarily. Everyone that disagrees with you, don't relate that to Sean Strickland, okay? But listen, the guy has a reason to be pissed off at a lot of the fans right now, even if he's a hypocrite is what I'm saying. Ian Garry is hypocritical, he's delusional, but at the same time, I think that people are overreacting a little bit to this press conference where he's saying things that are just kind of reasonable, in my opinion. All he's doing is he's defending the people that are around him because that's his family. How is that so difficult to understand? But what I think he should do to redeem himself, or at least to win back, like, I don't know, 15% of the fan base, if that's even possible at this point, is to apologize to Neil Magny. That would get him a ton of respect. And I think that he's probably capable, or maybe not actually, but he might be capable of understanding that what he did to Magny was fucked up. And once he clears himself of that, then maybe the fans are going to give him a clean slate. Continue to build a fight with Sean Strickland. Actually, I don't know, man. He would get railed at the press conference, and 90% of the fan base would be riding with Sean Strickland. I actually think Ian Garry should not pursue a fight with Sean Strickland. Okay? I actually think that'd be a bad idea for him to do. Not only do I think he would lose that, because Strickland's going to be able to check the low kicks, and I don't think Gary's going to be able to hit him so easily, and it's going to be hard for him to set up that KO shot. But if he gets beat by Strickland, he would be the ultimate butt of a Sean Strickland joke for forever. That's like the perfect opponent for Strickland to clown in the build-up to a fight. And him getting destroyed by Sean, he might not be able to recover from that. Just because people would always say, oh, this is Strickland's son, Strickland's son. So actually don't fight Sean Strickland. Accept comments on social media, all right? I guess that's basically it, bro. What are you doing? Allow people to comment on your Instagram. That's going to allow you to be put back in the algorithm, because right now you're irrelevant on there. So allow people to comment on your Instagram. Apologize to Neil Magny. Unless you want to go full villain arc, which is what I was suggesting a while ago. I was like, dude, just double down and go full out villain. And he might be the biggest star ever if he had just decided to show up to 296. But it looks honestly like he's trying to go on this much more relatable, humble route, carrying his kid all over embedded and stuff like that, like trying to be the wholesome dad. But yeah, anyway, that's all I had to say in this video. I think the people were being a little bit too hard on what Ian Garry was saying at the press conference. I honestly think that even though he's hypocritical and you don't have to like the guy, what he said was kind of just basic. Like, of course, he's not going to want people talking about his family, even if you think those critiques are warranted. There are a lot of people just clowning him all the time. It's going to piss the man off. It's not that crazy. And avoid Sean Strickland. I wanted to say that at the very end. Don't fight Sean Strickland. I don't think it's going to work out so well for him. He'll be disliked more after that. And people will view him as someone that isn't dangerous, because you don't want to get dominated by Sean Strickland in your next couple of fights when you have this whole career ahead of you. That's going to ruin your stock big time. And accept comments on social media. Until next time.